Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Right now it is just the two of us because Jason Lloyd is doing his main job with The Athletic, tracking down a story about a Browns rookie who finds himself in a bit of trouble. He'll be in shortly. He's on the road coming in right now, but he had to track down and get some police records from the Avon Police Department. We'll tell you all about that in just a second after a quick hello from our guy Earl. What's up, Earl?
What's up, brother, man? Good morning. Good morning to everybody that's watching the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. The first segment of the show is brought to you by FanDuel. You all know I love sports. I love them so much I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. All summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
So when Earl sent the rundown out last night, and then when we talked about it this morning, we had planned to start with the Guardians. Crazy, wild, 9-8 win over the Cubs. But then we got some news within the last hour that Mike Hall, the Browns' second-round pick out of Ohio State, a Cleveland native, is expected to be arrested this morning. Zach Jackson was the first to break the news. Zach tweeted this: source, Browns rookie defensive tackle Michael Hall expected to be arrested following a domestic dispute on Monday night. The Browns then sent out a statement to media. Mary Kay tweeted it out, and the Browns said from a spokesperson, and I quote, "We are aware of the incident involving Mike Hall Jr. last night. Mike and his representatives have been in touch with the appropriate authorities. We are in the process of gathering more information and will have no further comment at the time." All we know, Tyvis, very little details out, but Mike Hall, the Browns' second-round pick, who just finished playing in his first preseason game against Green Bay, expected to be arrested and booked today following a domestic dispute on Monday night. Tyvis, your reaction to the news of Mike Hall, a fellow Buckeye like yourself, finding himself in a bit of legal trouble this morning?
Well, when I first seen it, I said, well, obviously I'm going to do the right thing, and I'm not going to grill him right away because I got to see the facts.
We have no details.
Yeah, like
literally
I need to know.
Details, yeah.
I got to figure out everything that went down because obviously those are some serious allegations, and I want to give him the benefit of the doubt of at least knowing the full story. I will say for a guy that's from here, that's playing here, that just played in his first NFL preseason game, that had some moments in those games, it's not a great time for all of this to happen. You know, his future was very bright. He was getting Aaron Donald comparisons and stuff like that, and then boom, something like this happens. You know, it's unfortunate that everything could be going so right. Like everything is just the way you dreamed of it, the way you planned. And then one thing can happen and boom, it could just deteriorate everything else in your world. So, like I said, I hope that whatever this situation wasn't that serious or something like that. And I hope that, you know, if it is bad, he gets the help that he needs. But I don't want to grill him and say he's a terrible guy or anything like that because I don't know what happened. We just see this and that's all we know. So until the facts come out, I really can't speak on it that much.
Yeah, and there could be, when they say domestic dispute, there could be like 55 different categories of domestic dispute.
Yeah.
Until that details and the information comes out, it's hard to kind of quantify or qualify how you should feel about a situation. It's obviously disappointing. Mike Hall, a guy from Cleveland in a position, as you just mentioned, Tyvis, to take that next step in his career, go from being a promising collegiate player to an NFL player, and this is some sort of setback. Minor, major, we don't know yet, but it is some sort of setback, and it does kind of illuminate, may not be the right word, but this is now 3 defensive tackles in the Andrew Berry regime. Malik McDowell, Perion Winfrey, and Mike Hall Jr. that have had some sort of run-ins with the law to varying degrees, and it's just not a pattern you want to be associated with. Yeah. They're not all the same, but no matter how you break it down, it's not a good pattern.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mindset thing. Obviously, you're in the trenches, so you come off as a very aggressive guy, and some people in the league struggle with turning it on and turning it off. Sometimes that's just who you are, and you got to find a way to leave that aggression on the field, and keep that for the football field. It's perfect for what your role is for football, but maybe to society, you got to be able to tone it back. And, a lot of people struggle with that, not just this situation, but there's so many athletes that play football that struggle with turning it on and turning it off. Sometimes they just keep it on for too long, and then you have incidents come up and stuff like that happens that falters your career.
Mary Kay just tweeted that Mike Hall Jr. is currently being booked in Avon as we speak, so whether he turned himself in or whatnot, that has officially happened, and he is being booked at the Avon Police Department right now. And Ty, you've played at the highest level. You kind of understand how this goes. We don't know what happened, but it's frustrating from a fan perspective that some of these guys put themselves in a situation to where this could have happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And not everyone's perfect. We've all made mistakes. I am certainly not without flaws and faults. Like we've all done things we regret, but you want your players to be smarter and to avoid situations that could potentially turn out like this has the potential to turn out to be. And there's no one size fits all. Don't do this because you're safe, and if you do this, there's a lot of gray area in all these discussions.
Yeah.
It's just you would just hope a guy who has so much promise and so much ahead of him wouldn't find a way to put himself in this situation. And once again, we don't know the details, so we don't really know what happened.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's being booked means something happened to a level that it shouldn't have gotten to, and you just hate to see it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, a lot of players want to. They know that they're a professional, but they still want to do like normal life stuff. Like
they want to be a regular person.
Yeah, you want to be a regular guy. I want to be a regular citizen and stuff like that. But you got to realize that there are certain things that once you make it professionally, like certain things that you just ultimately can't do. You can't be around anymore. And I think this situation is with the mother of his child. And the thing about that is you never know. You never know the relationship of that, and you never know how somebody. All it takes is somebody not to feel right one day, and that whole thing can be bad. So it's just something that they got to work through. I don't like I said, I don't know what happened. I don't know what the situation is or what caused this to happen. If it was between him and the mother of his child, that's their business, and they need to figure something out. They need to get on the same page, because at the end of the day, y'all share a kid together, and you don't want the kid to come up having to read about stuff like this when they're of age, and have to learn things like this. So I think that it's always best for two parents to get together and try to do the best they can to raise that child. The child should be the first thing that's on their mind, and setting good examples for the child. So like I said, I don't know what the situation is, but that's my thoughts on that. And
I see Jason Lloyd walking in the building right now, so we'll get Jason's thoughts on this in a sec. Earl, I want your thoughts on this as well, but before I send it to you, Cleve TA, who runs an analytics website in Cleveland, what's up, Jason, tweeted out this morning after the news broke that, don't call him a slacker. He's actually working this morning for once. So, and he's technically on vacation from the Athletics, so he's double working on overtime. But Cleve TA tweeted out this morning that he had heard several teams had taken Mike Hall Jr. off their draft boards because of behavioral concerns. And Cleve TA is not Adam Schefter. He's not Ian Rappaport. He runs an analytics website. You come in, Jason.
Yeah, I wanted to say
and I didn't hear much of that.
The whole world know you.
I didn't hear much of that, Tyvis, in the lead up to the draft in terms of Mike Hall as a prospect. I mean, he fell in the second. He got drafted in the second round, which is where most people projected him to get drafted. It wasn't like he had some catastrophic fall from the top 10 to the second round. So I'm curious if any of the stuff that happened last night was stuff that he had on his record previously, or
it is. Zach wrote about it. Oh, we're talking about it. Zach, I had him send it to me as I was pulling in. Zach talked to one team that left him off their board entirely.
For all behavioral concerns?
Yeah, and Zach said he's heard from teams this morning that said this is the least surprising news. So like, what you call whatever you want. You can call it behavior, maturity, character, whatever you want. There were concerns out there with him. And unfortunately, this morning it came to light. Now we'll wait and see on the details. Obviously, there's not much out there yet right now. So we'll see what else comes out. But certainly not good news to start the day.
Yeah. Earl, what say you on this whole situation?
Yeah, I don't want to speculate either because we don't have all the details. I think anytime that you find your name in the news for something negative, of course it shines a bad light on you. He's 21 years old. And, this can be something that can be a learning experience, a growth experience, etc. Unfortunately, man, we really got to go through some stuff in order to grow past some things. Like, growth is painful sometimes. So I'll leave it at that because, like I said, I don't know much behind this situation, but you did find your name in the news for the wrong reasons. And so just take this and grow from it and make sure that this never happens again.
Ty, in an NFL locker room, when a rookie gets brought up in the news for a situation that's not football related, in this instance it's a negative light, what happens in the locker room? How do the veterans handle that situation?
Well, actually, a lot of vets take it hard on themselves because they feel like it's their responsibility to keep them in the right light, And even if Mike did have issues coming in, that defensive line knew that. They knew those things. I'm sure that, Andrew Berry and those coaches got with them and said, you know what? He got some little things that he need to work on. We need you guys to bring him along. We get him in this culture, we'll bring him along. We'll get that bad stuff out and we'll make him good. And when you see stuff like this happen as a position player, you'll be like, I take it personally because it's like, what could I have done to make him, make this situation not happen? And there's a lot of veterans that feel like that. So I'm sure they're taking it very hard. They're probably reaching out to him, and he's going to need them. If all of this is true, then they're going to really have to lean on him heavy because we don't know where his mind's going to be. So, like I say, the whole team, as close as they are, I listen to Elijah Moore talk about this is one of the closest teams he's ever been a part of. And if that is true and that throughout that locker room, then everybody's going to feel this pain today.
Jason, I know you came in late. We read Zach's tweet. We read the Browns statement. Do you have any other information that you've been able to gather this morning on the situation in Avon?
Just what we know for sure is that there was an incident last night between him and the wife or the mother of his child. He left before police arrived and was arrested this morning and will be arraigned in Avon. And for now, that's what we know for sure. So we'll leave it at that for now. I think more details obviously could come out, but for now, that's the facts.
And will this impact his
It's going to depend with the
availability?
charges. Like, it's going to, I mean, they're off today.
Yeah.
Joint practices start tomorrow. We'll see if it's, the charges could range from nothing to very, very serious. So we'll have to wait and see what the charges are, and then I think you can have that conversation of what's going to happen from here.
Any final thoughts, Tyvis, on the Mike Hall situation? We'll continue to monitor this and update you guys as we get information. And I'm sure throughout the week as we learn more, we'll have a more detailed and nuanced conversation about what his future is with the Browns. But any final thoughts before we move on the Mike Hall thing?
Don't grill him until you know the facts. That's all I'm gonna say. I ain't gonna say nothing negative until I know everything that happens at the situation. So make sure you be mindful of what you say.
Jason?
Yeah, I'll follow that, especially when, you try and be an analyst and opinionated, but also there's news that's still evolving, and I just don't know that we have all the details yet. So I'll withhold comment and judgment until we have more information. But it is worth, again, there was teams out there who flagged him. There was teams out there who flagged Perrion Winfrey. We know how that turned out. Hopefully Mike Hall doesn't turn out the same way.
Make that 3 for 3 on the panel. Until we have the information and the actual details of what happened, I don't think you can be too critical or too lenient on what happened. It is what it is. It's disappointing the Browns have to go through this, and it's disappointing for Mike Hall to take this step back in terms of his process in becoming an NFL player. But we'll figure out those details when they become available, and when they do, we'll have a more nuanced discussion on that. All right, let's get a read and let's pivot, talk a little Guardians, because that game last night was crazy.
Yeah, man, anytime you get a dub over your ops from Chicago, it's a beautiful thing. And this Guardian segment is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kicks, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors have you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers.
Well, Earl, it wasn't Game 7 of the World Series, but last night's Guardians-Cubs game delivered all the dramatics. The Guardians trailed 3-0. Then they led 8-3. Then it was tied 8-8, and then in the bottom of the 8th, Josh Naylor delivered the game-winning RBI, driving in José Ramírez to give the Guardians the 9-8 win. Klassen damn near perfect in the 9th to get the save. Tyvis, you can't ask for anything more in a baseball game that had literally everything from good pitching to bad pitching to home runs to diving catches to errors and everything in between.
Well, the funny thing is, I do look different without my hat on. But the funny thing is, I've been waiting since last night to see this man right here. Now listen, hold on now. I might not be 100% on everything I say, but I am trending in the right direction with this. Did you see him out there? You know who I'm talking about.
Big Christmas, baby.
Do you see what he had to do? Put the team on his back.
Didn't you have a?
I said that him and Angel Martinez was the best young prospect. What was the question?
About 20? Did he have 20?
I said 20. Listen. If he get me 2 a game, I'll hit it now. We might go over.
He's got 8 now. He's got 11.
So you tell me he's going to hit 12 in the next 6 weeks.
If he play every day, he doing this, not playing every day. If he play every day, why not? It's not like the hitting is great right now anyway. Now, yeah, last night they was old, but it was outside of that, the hitting ain't great. We need that spark. We need that. If Big Christmas going to come through and hit 2, why not? He's earned it.
Let me tell you, if they finish in the top half of the league and he hits 20, I can never see you again.
No, yeah, you won't. Because I ain't going to.
I'm going to get his haircut.
Hey.
I'm getting close without trying.
I'm open to all jokes and criticism today. As a matter of fact, it's actually going to help me be better because I have a problem with I was insecure about this. But then I said, you know what, forget it. You know what? If people got something to say, I got to get comfortable in my skin.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
And it is what it is. It's inevitable. So if you got jokes, which, speaking of jokes, have any of y'all seen All About the Benjamins?
Nah.
Earl has. The part where he talks about when they interrogating the dude and he says, when you salute, you got to salute up here. I felt that. I truly feel that right now. I went to do it in the car and I'm like, dang, my stuff is back there. So that I went dude on this. All right. So yeah. But anyways, outside of that, it was a good baseball game, back and forth. I really thought the Guardians was going to run away with that thing, but the Cubs, they shocked me. I mean, they did some really good hitting at times. The start and pitching wasn't great. I didn't think Ben did good, and I didn't think he did great, and I didn't think the other guy did great as well. I had thought that they both have at least 5 strikeouts apiece. I don't think neither one of them had more than 2, maybe 3.
Lively had 1. I'm not sure what.
Yeah, he might have had 3, but it just wasn't like a lights out performance, and that ultimately led to the hitting. That's why the hitting looked so good. So it was a good game, very entertaining. If we get more like that, I think the ratings will be through the roof.
So Noel hits the 2 home runs, Jason. But the biggest play in the game was Noel's diving catch.
Yeah.
And that has gone kind of, I don't want to say under the radar, but I think it's been underrated in terms of the last 12 hours in discussing what led to the Guardians' win. They were down 3-0, Runners on first and second, 2 outs. If that ball gets past Noel in right field, it's a 5-0 game and the game's essentially over at that point. It's not impossible for the Guardians to come back, but down 5-0, that momentum swing, you don't get a chance. It's probably done. He makes the diving catch. Then the Cubs make an error, which allows Noel to get back up with 2 on. He hits a pitch that was like this high off the ground. How in the world Noel turned and sent that 385 feet, 400 feet into left field when it was 5 inches off the damn.
Yeah.
Incredible power. And even his second home run, Jason, to turn on that it was a slider going
Slider.
away from him.
He was beat on it, kept his hands back.
That dude
He's got
should
power.
compete in the strongman competition.
Yeah, he's definitely
Like,
got power.
Unbelievable. But that diving catch was the most important play of the game.
Like
last night.
best prospect, best young prospect type power.
Let's settle down. The power's real, and
The power is real.
and they need that.
All right,
and
Jason.
we had all kinds of stats in the offseason. I have to go back and find them about how important power is to playoffs. It's really hard to win in the playoffs without being able to hit the ball out of the park. So hopefully, he can solidify an everyday role going forward. But if my math is correct, they haven't lost since Stephen Vogt got ejected, which may or may not have anything to do with it. But he got tossed to the second game of that doubleheader, and they beat the Twins twice, then they beat the Cubs. So I'm not saying they're won 3 in a row because of the ejection, but they certainly seem to be putting the wheels back on the cart at this point. And I think it was good for Stephen to show some fire. And he told us, I remember we were talking at the owners' meetings about this in Nashville over the winter, and he said he has a really, really long fuse, but there is a point where it's the end, and then he just loses his mind and goes berserk once he gets to the end. And I don't know that he lost his mind on the ejection, but he was definitely fired up. He was hot, and I think it did sort of rejuvenate these guys a little bit to come back and beat the Twins twice. Like, you win one game. It's like the old saying in Major League: "We won today, we win tomorrow." That's a winning streak. It does feel like winning is contagious, and good baseball is contagious, and early on in the year, these guys found ways to win games that you thought they were out of it, and then obviously they didn't play well for a few weeks, and now, you get hot at the right time. You get hot toward the end of August and September. That's when you want to be playing your best baseball. So certainly encouraging signs that this team is not dead. They are. If they don't have the best record, they had the best record in baseball a couple of days ago. I think they still do.
I thought it was a
After winning
3-way
3 in a
tie.
row. Before the doubleheader, they had the best record in baseball. So I don't know now. But they've got to be close. Like, they're right there.
They're right there, yeah.
So this is still a really, really good team. Every team goes through slumps throughout the season. Holding on to that 3.5-game lead, and hopefully this is a sign of good things to come.
The bullpen yesterday had its ups and downs.
Yeah.
Klassen, incredible. Barlow. Are you guys confident in Barlow right
No.
now? Because I'm certainly not.
He's not a guy that I'm throwing in the 7th inning with the lead in a playoff game. Not right now.
What happened to Karinchak?
Karinchak hasn't been around.
I
forever.
know.
He was hurt. He's been in AAA all year, I think. I don't even know if he's pitching.
Really? I didn't know
I
he
don't
was
know if he's
pitching again.
He may not be. I've actually lost track of him. He was hurt, and then I kind of just stopped paying attention to him.
I also don't love Herron right now. He's struggling to get outs on a consistent basis, and when they went from Herron to Barlow yesterday, I'm like, oh no.
But you can't keep throwing the same 3 guys.
I know, and I understand
So,
why they did it.
yeah.
I didn't feel great, and it came to fruition that it was not great.
But these guys, the relievers, just like the team, they're going to go through streaks, and you got to hang with them because the talent is there. You got to hang with them and hope they work it out.
When you look at the rest of the game yesterday, Jason, you had Naylor, who had the game-winning RBI. You also had a 2-out RBI early in the game. Kwan turned on a 90-mile-an-hour high and inside fastball for a home run, which helps Tyvus's cause. I see him smirking over there.
Hey, listen, I think somebody put in the group chat that they was slipping down. They might not.
They heard that.
And ever since, boom, they start hitting them again. So please, Bull, keep saying some
You
negative
have
stuff.
put me in a position that I have to root against Cleveland home runs.
Why?
Because I don't want to listen to this.
Well, you should root against Big Christmas because he get 12 more. I'm telling you right now, y'all can't talk to me about baseball. Can't talk to me.
Well, he did say Angel Martinez was the most impressive. It does.
It balances out.
You hit
It
a home
evens
run,
out.
and you also struck out.
He can't get them all right. He was doing so well, and then he just kind of fell off a cliff.
Yeah. For the Guardians to hit Imanaga like they did yesterday, a lefty too,
Yeah.
was impressive because their lineup is so predominantly lefty hitter laden. And
Right.
obviously, you brought over Lane Thomas, who hits lefties well. Jhonkensy has a 936 OPS this season against lefties. Like, they have certain guys who obviously prefer facing lefties, but Imanaga's been a really good pitcher for the Cubs this year. And the Guardians knocked him out early and did it with power. I thought it was pretty impressive top to bottom from that lineup to be able to kind of put a whooping on a pretty damn good
I
pitcher
was-
who they don't see often.
I was actually shocked because we hadn't been hitting well, and Imanaga actually is a good pitcher. I know
Very
he's
good.
young, but he's a good pitcher, and I was shocked to see them hit him around like that, to be honest with you. But maybe, like I say, it's just a roller coaster when it comes to the hitting. Some days you're not gonna hit for a long period of time, but all it takes is like one or two guys to find that spark, and it just for some odd reason rejuvenates the whole team, and everybody can hit. So it was a really good hitting day yesterday for the Guardians later in the game, I should say.
Jason, in a game where there's as many momentum swings as we saw yesterday, down 3-0, up 8-3, tied, what does it say about the Guardians if they're able to kind of keep their composure in those moments and not crumble even when Chicago goes on a run like they did to tie it back up at 8?
It's impressive, man. It's a resilient team. We knew that. We've seen that for months now. There have been plenty of games this year where it looked like they're out of it or it's not looking great, and they just keep fighting, and they keep fighting, and they keep coming, and they keep coming back. So it's a great quality to have. It's, sometimes young teams don't know any better but to just keep playing hard and to keep coming. And that's certainly a sign of this team. And with the bullpen, by and large, every night, they're going to keep you in the game. They're going to give you a chance. Even if the starter gets knocked out early, this bullpen is good enough. They're going to hold the line and give this team a chance to get back. And that's what happened yesterday.
When you see Ben Lively only go 3 2/3, he walked 4. I think it was the worst command he's had all season. He couldn't throw strikes when he needed to.
Yeah, it wasn't
Does it
good.
raise a flag? I mean, it's one bad start. He's been so good for essentially the entire season. Any concerns that he may be nearing the end?
I hope not.
I hope not. I was about to say, don't even speak of that.
It's a serious question. It's worth asking.
It's just one start. I'm not going to pay attention to it, but 2 or 3 more of those, and then we can have that conversation. Matthew Boyd's pitching tonight.
Oh, okay. I'm
He's
actually
been awesome in Columbus.
Yeah, he has.
Awesome in Columbus.
We'll see. I'm just telling you, look at his track record. Look at his major league track record. He has
You can
not
say
been
that
a good
about
pitcher.
Ben Lively,
you
though,
can say
too.
that about Ben Lively. I don't know
What's
how many
wrong?
times.
Well, I see what's wrong. I see the ERA. That's not great.
I don't know how many magic beans they have in their pouch left to do what they've done with guys like Ben Lively, and if they can do it with Matthew Boyd. He has been very good in AAA. The majors is a lot different.
What's this, Earl? What's this over under on strikeouts on FanDuel? You know,
Who's?
Matthew
Probably
Boyd.
4.5.
Give me 1 second.
3.5.
You gotta take the over no matter what it is, Ty.
Yeah, I'm taking the over.
No matter what, if it's
No,
8.5,
if it's like
$10.
if it's 4.5,
that's where you draw the line.
yeah, like I need it to be. If it's 3.5, I'm taking.
He's
the
been
over.
his numbers in Columbus the last month essentially have been incredible. He went 1 hit, 6 innings, 2 starts ago. I'm not sure that was his last start.
One
2
hit in
starts
6
ago.
innings.
Yeah, it was 7 strikeouts. And he
That is
he has pitched
good.
21. I did the graphic last week. 21 2/3 innings. He's given up 2 runs over his last 5 starts. His ERA is sub-1. He's been legitimately incredible in Columbus.
I hate that. I hate
everything
Jason
you could
called
ask
that.
for in
Yeah.
Columbus. You couldn't ask for a better rehab stint.
I don't know.
Columbus is not the majors, though. So we're going to see how it translates. But right
And
now,
again, you can't worry about one start. Like, first start coming back from the surgery he's had. It's
Four
the
and a
first start.
half.
Even if he gets hammered, I'm not going to
It
say,
is what it
see,
is.
I told you. Like,
Yes,
it's the
you
first
are.
start. No,
Yes,
I'm
you
not.
are.
No, I'm not. I'm not on the show the rest of the week. I can't. It's my only days.
Oh, we have a text. Say, I'm sure. I don't even have to watch the game. I know how he did. If Jason's talking, that means he did terrible.
No, if he gets blown up, then it's a first start back. It happens. But going forward, no, I don't have high expectations for him. How could you? I hope that he's a pleasant surprise.
4 strikeouts. I got it. His
4.5. There's
I'm not willing to take the over on that. Yeah. I'm willing to go alternate strikeouts.
4.
4.
So what's the payout on a $10 bet when you go the alternate strikeout line? Like
Let me look it up. Let me look it up.
Who's pitching for the? It's Assad.
I didn't see.
Who's pitching for the Guardians for the Cubs tonight? It's Julian.
Yeah, it's
Julian A. I forget it.
Assad.
Assad. Jason, what do you know about Assad? His numbers look pretty good this year.
Decent, yeah. Bold know more about him than I do. I don't follow the Cubs as closely. But
Minus 390. That's what 4 strikeouts is.
minus 390 for 4 strikeouts.
Yeah, you put
So on $10, you're
$10, you win $2.56.
You have fun with that. I couldn't even waste my time with that.
You gotta put it in the parlay. Like you gotta put a whole parlay
Could
together.
not waste.
What were you saying
not
about
waste my time.
Assange?
He's all right.
Assad.
He's having a decent year. We'll see. They're hot. They're playing well. So hopefully they keep it going. Win the series. That's it. Just win. Just stack series wins.
Yeah, it is what it's about.
I got one more question that's going to lead us right into our next topic. So, Earl, give us a read, and then I'm going to set this next topic up with the question I want to ask both of you guys.
For sure, man. This next topic is brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for small businesses, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like the professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions may apply.
So the question I wanted to ask you, and Jason, I want to start with you before we move over to Tyvis. Noel hits 2 home runs last night, has a diving catch. Lane Thomas played center field, but has struggled since becoming a member of the Guardians in 13 games. He has an OPS in the 3s, which is, the noise that those two made doesn't even do it justice. He's hitting 109. He has 5 hits and 46 at-bats. Jason, when playoff time rolls around, do the Guardians have to have an answer to who their everyday right fielder is? Or can they still go with this platoon between Thomas, Noel, moving Thomas around in the outfield? Is that a viable option come playoff time?
Yeah, that's how. I mean, they're not going to change the way they play come October. You're going to do what got you there. So whatever you see now is the way that it's going to continue to be. Those numbers are horrific. Obviously, he changed leagues. That's important. He's seeing pitchers he hasn't seen before or in quite a while. Moving primary. I know there's interleague play, but primarily now, when you change leagues, it's a whole new set of pitchers and whole new scouting reports. So, I'm sure there's pressure on going to a new team. I'm not going to write the guy off because he's had a couple of bad weeks, but these have been horrendous weeks. It's really, really bad. Hopefully he gets it turned around. But, yeah, this is how they play. They're going to keep mixing and matching. They're going to keep moving guys around. This is the MO of this team. And, you ideally you would like to have an everyday right fielder who hits 30 home runs, but that's just not where we're at with this team.
He hit 22 between now and the end of the season.
Okay. He get to that last game and he had 19. I'm gonna be please. Please.
I'm gonna make a call. You got to bench him. Can't play today.
Ty, what say you on that?
I mean, I'm with him. I'm not gonna write him off after 13 games. I mean, what is his playoff career like? Did they
Thomas?
Yeah, like I
think non-existent.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say. So I
don't think.
And I really don't look like that. Why you looking like that?
I'm just trying to rack my brain.
I was sitting there thinking about it. And I was like,
I don't think he's ever played in the playoffs. Yeah.
Well, the fact of the matter is, you got to go off of power, okay? And I know he can hit home runs. I need him to turn it on. Now, if he hasn't turned it on from now and it hasn't looked good by the time we get to the playoffs, then the writing's on the wall. You got to go with Big Christmas because at least you know that guy's going to get you a – don't smile like that. Don't smile like that. You know that guy could at least change the game. Jason just said a second ago that in the playoffs, power matters.
Yeah.
And obviously, pitching's going to be different in the playoffs. He's going to have to really get some plate discipline. He can't be swinging at the 1 home run that he got off 5 inches off the ground. Like, you got to be smarter about that. But just the fact that he can hit it out the park, you got to keep him in there. And if he continues to play well at right field and he's making diving catches and he's playing well in the field, then you might as well keep him in the lineup. But I got faith that Lane Thomas will figure something out before then, and our outfield should look pretty good.
You saw Oscar Gonzalez a couple years ago.
Yeah, against the Yankees.
And the Rays. Hit the home run against the Rays in the series.
Yeah.
So, and then he fell off the cliff and never heard from him again and was no longer in the organization. But there is a role for guys who can hit it out of the park, especially in the playoffs. You have to have those guys. I think Noel's on this postseason roster. I'd be shocked if they leave him off it. You have to carry him. You can carry both of them. You can carry Lane Thomas and
Yeah, I think they're both
And-
locks for the playoff roster. Like,
yeah,
let's be
yeah.
honest, because Thomas has the versatility to play other outfield positions as
Yeah.
well, and he's a plus base runner, and he's a pretty good defender.
How
and
has
if you're
he-
taking a bats away from somebody, if Thomas doesn't turn it around, obviously you can't hit him in the playoffs. Like if he's hitting 100 or 109 after 36 games, like.
You'll still play him against lefties.
But that's it. He's strictly
How
against
how
lefty
has
guys.
he looked at center field? Because I know they've been experimenting with that.
Fine.
He's decent. Yeah, he's solid.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah. He's got a rocket arm.
Oh well, then yeah.
Good mobility, but
If
it's not
he's
like a
if
plus
he's not there,
defender.
it's Tyler Freeman, right?
I mean, it could be any number of guys.
Schneemann, it's impossible to predict their lineup. The one thing I'll say about Noel, whether it's right field, DH, whether he's platooning with Lane Thomas, I do think they have to get him more consistent at bats. I really do. And Jason, I see you kind of.
Oh, no. I'm just listening.
Oh, I thought you were rolling your eyes.
No.
Because I saw Tyvus smiling. I thought you were rolling your eyes at Tyvus.
No.
He's the kind of guy, and I'm not sure exactly what the comp is. And if you guys have a comp, let me know. But
David Ortiz.
no, stop. He strikes out a ton. He's a guy that's going to strike. His strikeout rate this year is 33%. He has 80 at bats this season. He struck out 26 times. He also has 11 extra base hits. More than half his hits this year have been extra base hits. Of his 20 hits, 3 doubles, 8 homers, 55% of his hits go for extra bases. I think he needs the at bats to get in a rhythm, because you see in these sporadic times when he comes into the game, or if he plays one day then sits two, he's just out there chasing everything.
Yeah.
And he's never going to have a good eye, and I don't think he'll ever be a guy with great plate discipline. But it feels like when he gets more consistent at bats, he at least has some semblance and some frame of, okay, this is the strike zone. This is a little better semblance of if it's outside, I don't have to swing. But when he's only playing 2-3 times a week, it feels like he's out there chopping wood any chance he gets, swinging at horrific first pitches. And if he's not getting those consistent at bats, I'm afraid that unless he just runs into one like we saw last night or runs into two, that he's going to be less effective than he could be just because he's out of rhythm. He seems like a rhythm hitter.
What is his natural position?
Outfield.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't
It's
know
called
that.
the hitter. He's just a natural
Yeah.
hitter.
I didn't know he played. Oh, I thought he was like a first baseman or something.
No.
I actually think that is who he is. I don't think it's a
a
product of
rhythm
only
thing?
playing a
It's
couple days a week. I just think
just
that's
him.
the type of hitter he is. And again, I go back to Oscar Gonzalez. Oscar Gonzalez was really undisciplined. A lot of power, but just he chased a lot of bad pitches that he shouldn't have been chasing. Noel is not to that extreme, but I do think that there's a little bit of a similarity between Noel and Oscar Gonzalez. And that's not to say Noel can't do it long term, because that power is so tantalizing.
dynamic,
that you want to see more, and you have to see more. But I think that they're just trying to be strategic right now and picking their spots when he plays. And you know, we kind of saw it with David Fry. David Fry was so good for so long, he forced their hand that they had to find a spot to play him more often, probably than they expected to. And hopefully Noel, if he keeps hitting 2 home runs a night, they'll find a spot for him. He'll force their hand. But it's a matter of staying disciplined, swinging at the right pitches. You can live with the strikeouts to an extent.
As long as he's swinging at good pitches.
Yeah, you can live with the strikeouts to an extent, especially in today's game, if the payoff is there. And he's one of those guys who I hope evolves into a middle of the order bat, because it's like he's a threat. He's a threat. He's a threat to hit it out every time he's in the box, and they don't have enough of those guys.
And on top of that, he's fun as hell to watch.
Yeah.
Like,
He is.
the Guardians have a bunch of guys in their lineup who, when they come up, if you change the channel for a sec, you're not really like, I'm probably okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name names. Y'all know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. We don't have to put anyone on blast. When Jhonk's up, it's appointment television. Your eyes are glued to the screen.
Because you know he might knock this thing out the.
Or he might swing at a pitch 46 inches outside the zone. Like, you
that's
have
true,
no
too.
idea what's coming, but you have to watch it. He makes watching baseball more fun, and that's why I think he's been so welcomed and accepted by this fan base. He is a fun dude to watch. He doesn't look like a traditional baseball player. He doesn't play like a traditional baseball player, but when he makes contact, he hits that SOB further than anyone else in the Guardian, and it ain't even close. Earl, you
I
want to
got
say
a question
something?
for Jason.
Shoot.
So growing up, Jim told me was like this ultra power hitter that struck out a lot. Do you see those similarities in Noel?
No, I'm not going to compare him to a Hall of Famer. Jim was an all-around he was a very good baseball player of football. And,
Probably was a good football player, too, for being honest.
And yes,
huge.
he did strike out, but not at a 33% clip, I don't think. I'd have to go back and look at his career numbers. I don't think he struck out that much. I mean, Tommy was one of the best to ever do it. You can't put Noel in that conversation yet. But it's fair to say that there's a certain amount of there's a threshold, there's a certain amount of strikeouts that you can live with if you're getting the payoff. And obviously, Jim Thome gave you the payoff with the power that he had. But I can't make that comparison yet.
I'll give you a strikeout rate right now. Hold on. Yeah, not 33. It's 26%.
Oh, for Noel?
Thome.
Or Thome, yeah.
Thome.
Yeah, that's a lot more manageable.
He did strike out. I mean, he struck out 185 times in 2021.
He had some. Who? Thome?
Thome.
Well, that's at the end of his career.
I mean, in 2001. Sorry, 2001.
That's the prime of his career. He had some years of big. Yeah, 2021. He was retired by then. He had some big strikeout years. Some big strikeout.
47 homers that year. So you live 47 homers, 131 ribbies. You live with striking out as much as you are if you're going to be.
Right.
When you make the contact, the other two-thirds.
Plus, look at what his averages were. His averages weren't terrible. It was a different era.
Just imagine if Jhonkensy played.
He hit 304 that year, and struck out.
I mean, look at his OPS. That's probably better.
1.122.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you say?
1.122, and he finished 7th in the MVP. There's no way 6 players had a better season than that.
He hit that well?
Jim Thome was a monster.
I know that, but that's really good.
He didn't even sniff the top 6 for MVP either. That's crazy.
Wow.
But, yeah, either way, Noel, he makes baseball fun. Lane Thomas is not as bad as he's been in a Guardians uniform. Like, this has been the worst stretch
He better figure it out.
of Lane Thomas's season, probably his career. I don't think he's ever hit.
Was it true that I think before he came to us, was it true that he was on like a 26 game hit streak?
Thomas?
Yeah. I thought I was watching the game and I thought I saw that.
It's 26 game on base streak.
Oh, is that
Not
what
hit
it
streak,
is?
on base streak.
Okay.
And he has he's drawn 5 walks in 14 games. His eye discipline at the plate is significantly better than Jhonkensy Noel's. However, Noel's hitting right now, and Lane Thomas isn't. And at the end of the day, you need dudes who can hit the baseball.
He just need to hit the ball. It starts tonight. I'm putting it down in the parlay. Lane Thomas hit.
A hit?
One.
Go with the home run.
If you feeling froggish, go 2 hits.
Yeah.
What is y'all ain't gonna threaten me with a good time. Hold on, let me see.
Over 5.5 bases.
Nah, see, now you tripping. You tripping.
I had Jose for an RBI yesterday. He didn't get it, so I think RBI. I think Jose has a lot for an RBI tonight. So why don't you go Lane Thomas?
Okay, hold on. Wait a
plus
minute.
2 hits.
Let me
Let's
put
go Jose RBI. We're gonna go Matthew Boyd 4 strikeouts. We're gonna take the alternate. We ain't doing no 4.5.
See?
Just go 4 strikeouts.
Okay, we got $10 to win you 60.
Let's go to Guardians money line and then whatever FanDuel boost they give you.
Guardians money line. I ain't got no boost. $10 win you $77. 4-leg parlay.
There you go. That's gas, and then that's a trip to Crispy Chick.
All right, Earl, let's get a read in and let's talk a little Deshaun Watson.
For sure, man. This next segment is brought to you by FanDuel. Y'all know I love sports. I love them so much, I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and those sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
So, real quick before we get to Deshaun Watson, Jason, I know you got the police report.
Well, no, still working on it. Just give me a few more minutes.
Well, hold on. Brad Stainbrook tweeted out a statement from the Avon police report. Should I read it? Or should I wait till we get...
Go ahead.
All right, this is a tweet from Brad Stainbrook. Per the Avon police report, and this is a quote, I am reading this directly from the tweet. Female called 911 claiming Brown's Mike Hall Jr. pushed her daughter and hit her with a baby bottle. Female not injured declined an ambulance. Hall has been charged with domestic violence knowingly causing physical harm. So that could be the latest on the Mike Hall situation. Not great, if that is true.
No, I'm working on getting it now. I'm trying to do about 3 things at once here.
Jason's going to get the police report for us by the end of the show, and we'll have all the details on that.
Yeah, matter of fact, as we get the information, just stay tuned for overtime. We'll have more information on Mike Hall Jr. and we're discussing more at that time. But Mike, Kevin Stefanski did a pretty damn good job of laying out his plans this week for Deshaun Watson. He's going to do a lot of work throughout the week against the Minnesota Vikings and that joint practice, and won't play this week against the Minnesota Vikings, but will make his preseason debut next week against the Seattle Seahawks. How do you feel about how Kevin Stefanski is going about this?
I think it's the perfect plan. I actually think it's exactly the right way to handle Deshaun Watson as he continues to rehab from his shoulder surgery. It's less of rehab, but just to get reacclimated into playing football at a high level in real game situations. Joint practices are great because it gives you real game situations against opposing defenses without the live bullet and the live chance of getting hit. But I do think before he takes the field against Dallas in week 1, he does need a few reps, and just a few, 2 series maybe, that could be it, of reps where he knows he can't just hang onto the ball, freelance in the pocket with no repercussions. He needs to have the time and the clock in his head clicking at a level where there are guys who he knows can come, sack him, hit him, force him off his point, make him move around, make him improvise, and he's going to get that against Seattle. So with Minnesota coming in this week, let him run through all the joint practice stuff, let him go through all the drills, let him attack Minnesota's defense without the threat of being hit. And then in Seattle, even if it's just a run-through for the pure communication back and forth between Stefanski with this new revamped offense, collaborating with Ken Dorsey and Tommy Rees and Deuce Staley, etc., getting that communication flow in, getting those live rep game situations in, I think it's the right way to handle Deshaun Watson. And as Bull said yesterday, Mahomes plays in the preseason. A lot of the top quarterbacks play in the preseason in just limited action because they need and they feel like they need those live game reps that you can't simulate any other way besides an actual preseason game. I think it's the right move, and I applaud Kevin Stefanski for putting Deshaun Watson in the right position to be at his peak come week 1 against Dallas. Tyvis, what say you?
I mean, I understood why he didn't play last week. Obviously, he wasn't even clear until this week to be fully clear. This week, I don't think you need to play in the game because you're getting all the work in joint practices. With the Vikings, you'll be able to run all the stuff that you really want to run anyways, and you can keep your quarterback protected from being hurt. I do think that the third game was the most important one because if you don't play him at all, that's too much of a layoff that he hasn't played football. So the third week is perfect. I think that's what they did last year, and I think they play a half or a quarter. They played for quite some time in the third preseason
Last
game.
year?
Last year?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I feel like it was like either a quarter
Who was
or a
the
half.
third? I don't remember what the
Kansas
third
City. Because KU
Oh, that's
kept
right.
missing
Denzel
them.
got hurt. Denzel got concussion in that game.
Did he?
Because I thought it was nuts for him to even be out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got a concussion in that
Yeah.
game.
Well, anyways.
Thornhill had the six.
Yeah, he had to pick 6. But, yeah, anyways, I think that's the perfect time to play him in the third preseason. I'm more of I would have played him in the first one or like a series or two like everybody else. Not a lot in the second, but made him play a little, like a quarter, maybe a quarter and a half of its third one. That was more my layout, but I understand why they chose not to go to wow. They had no choice. Like I said, he wasn't fully cleared to do it in week 1. So I think that's why we're getting the plan that we're getting. Listen, as long as he's ready week 1, that should be all that matters. And getting him prepared, he has to take some game reps. I know G. Bush was first on the one. Like, I wouldn't play him at all. And I just looked at him like he was crazy because that's blasphemy. He definitely needs to feel the pressure of being sacked. And I think when I look at Seattle's defensive line with this offensive line problems that we have at the left tackle spot, he'll feel some pressure, all right.
I did wonder if they would hold him out the entire preseason. I didn't think they should, but I did wonder if the first time we saw him would be against Dallas.
I don't understand why would you want to do that.
I just had a feeling that might be the case, so I'm glad. I think we talked about it last week. This is exactly how it done. I wouldn't have played him in the first one. Don't need to play him in the second one because of the joint practice, but I would play him in the third one. So I was glad to see that that's what Kevin decided to do. I think it's the right call. He's probably not going to play a ton in the third one, but you've got to get him out there. You've got to let him get the reps. You have to let him see it. You have to let him feel it. You don't want Dallas to be his first exposure, particularly coming off, the injury and everything else. So I think it's a great plan. I think it's the right way to go.
It made me feel even better about Deshaun, knowing that the Browns and mainly Stefanski we're confident enough to put him in a situation against Seattle where, God forbid, he does get sacked, he'll be able to bounce back up. Because had they not played him this entire preseason, I would have understood the reasoning, but it would have made me think and jump to the conclusion of maybe they don't think he's ready to take a hit yet. And whether that's fair or not, that's just kind of the presentation they'd be giving you. So the fact that they are going to play him against Seattle and open himself up to potentially getting hit, getting sacked, whatever it may be, to me, says the Browns are confident where Deshaun is physically 3 weeks out from the first week of the season.
I hope he don't get blasted. I think that the reason that they need to – this joint practice for the next couple of days is important, and that Seattle game is important because of that left tackle spot. You got to come up with a plan. Practice is probably safer because you can do some other things and not worry about your quarterback getting hit. But in that third game, like I say, he needs to know that pressure probably will and can come from the left side of his offensive line. So he's got to be ready to avoid that and understand how he needs to go forth throughout this season until Jed comes back, what he needs to do to protect himself.
If Deshaun is playing against Seattle.
He is.
No, I'm just saying, but like.
Oh, okay.
If he is, that to me, that says they feel confident they'll have one of their left tackles or one of their other injured tackles who hasn't practiced yet on the field that game as well, because I don't know how comfortable I'd feel putting Deshaun Watson out there with James Hudson at left tackle.
I don't think they're going to. I think that it's going to be a very heavy dose of David Njoku doing some chipping before he runs out.
They have to.
That's the only way. Like
left tackle
that running back is going to have to be on that left side, and he's going to be ready to pick up because. Or James Hudson might be all right. We never know. We gonna find out.
Every time, every practice report we've gotten this training camp,
it's not been great.
It hasn't been great, and it wasn't great last year when he played in the regular season. He can run block, and we're told he's a better run blocker than my eyes tell me he is, Tyvis. In terms of pass protection, I mean, do you remember they were wheeling out DeJuan Jones on third downs last year? They were rotating right tackles. Because they didn't want James Hudson to pass block. Well, now he's on the left side in this new configuration of the offensive line with Jed Wills and Jack Conklin hurt. And I'm just telling you right now, we'll have a bigger conversation on this later in the week after we see how Hudson does against some of the Minnesota players. If James Hudson has to play meaningful snaps at left tackle for the Browns in 2024, it is a legitimate issue. And the way that man's laughing right there means he knows I'm right.
No, I'm laughing because no, you are right, and that's the sad part is you got to figure something out. You gotta, but I don't know what you do. That's the question. Do you trade for a left tackle? But then if that was the case, you should have did that.
Done that a while ago. Yeah. And who's out there that be available now?
And what is Jed's injury that he's out?
He got a knee scope and he had an MCL issue. And then when he got his scope, they fixed the MCL. This was November of last year. He is yet to practice. I mean, they say he's going to be okay for week 1, but if you haven't practiced at this point, you tell me, if you haven't practiced as of August 13th.
You telling me this man ain't kick slides since November of last year. You think he going out there week 1? I doubt it.
Tyvis, you're looking at the single worst left tackle in the history of football.
Doubt it.
I had to quit football because I hated it.
This man ain't kick slide since November. You telling me you think no?
And week 1, who are they playing? Who's going to be up against them?
Michael Parsons.
Yeah, how's that going to go?
Yeah, no. That's not happening.
It's going to be an issue, guys. Like,
that's not happening.
We'll discuss and we'll figure out. I'm surprised they haven't tried DeJuan Jones at all at left tackle in camp. We would have heard about it. But
they got a good thing going there. I thought Jack Conklin would be the swing guy.
Conklin hasn't practiced either.
It was his first day out on the field yesterday.
Oh, he practiced yesterday? Okay.
No, he didn't practice.
But he was out on the field?
He was his first day outside yesterday.
Outside. Well,
I don't think he had any equipment or nothing. It was just his first day outside.
It is certainly a situation to monitor as we continue to get closer and closer to the start of the season, Tyvis. But my point is, if Deshaun's going to play, and I wholeheartedly agree with Deshaun playing against Seattle for a little bit, if Hudson is the left tackle, you better be rolling out to the right every play. Get him on the move. I am not standing.
You know what's
and I'm not calling 7 steps. They're going to nickel blitz from the right.
Yeah, I was about to say they go blitz.
Pick your poison, Tyvis.
They go blitz.
Pick your poison.
What do you mean? I told you what to do.
Well, you know what? Let's just go unbalanced line. Put put a Jermaine Ifedi as the tight end on the left side.
I think he's taking left tackle spots today.
And I listened.
Or yesterday. I think he was taking left tackle spots.
Yesterday, yeah. Fetty went to A&M. Shout out to
Fetty was with Seattle. Listen, I was with Fetty in Seattle. He was all right. He was straight.
That was 7 years ago.
It was straight. What?
Earl, what do you think about the Deshaun Watson plan? Joint practices against Minnesota, game action against Seattle. Right call, wrong call?
I think it's the right call. You get more done in those individual drills when you're in those joint practices. It's a more controlled environment as well. And I think it's good to, finally see Deshaun Watson go against an opposition and not just somebody that's wearing a brown, white, or orange jersey. And so, we'll get some real work in. I think, they'll treat week 3 of the preseason as their dress rehearsal. Hopefully he goes out there and plays, 2 series. Get the arm warm and kind of just get his feet wet before we get ready for Dallas.
Yeah, I just think those game reps where you can actually get hit and you can let some things fly and you can see, all right, for example, we'll call it a little slant route, right? Mm-hmm. Can I thread the needle between the linebacker and the cornerback and do it in a game? But do it in a game where if I get picked off, it sucks, but whatever. It's not the regular season. Just to fully see the parameters of where you're at, and they're not going to let them rip it 70 yards deep. They're not going to put them in any advantageous or disadvantageous situations. But I just want to see what we got. I want to see how Deshaun looks and whatever this makeshift offense in a preseason game will look like. And you're not going to get those reps. As good as joint practices can be, you're just not going to be able to simulate those game reps unless you're actually in a game where you can get hit.
I agree with that. And I had this conversation with Holly last night. We did our podcast. Make sure y'all get that when it come out. The orange is oranger. Anyways, I was telling her that no matter what happens this season with Deshaun, I would let him play 17 games no matter what. If he's terrible,
oh yeah,
we're just not gonna.
I thought you were saying if he hurts his shoulder.
No. I'm talking about healthy wise.
Yeah,
if he's healthy, he's going out there every game because I need to know by the end of this season what we need to do.
What you got?
Yeah, I need to know. So as long as he's healthy, he's out there. I don't care if he's tearing it up every week for 300 yards or if he's throwing for -20. He's going out there. So I don't need to hear this backup jazz because it's not happening.
We had Mike Clay on of ESPN yesterday, Ty. Mm-hmm. And he does his statistical projections for every player in the NFL entering the season. He's more of a fantasy guy, so these are coming from a fantasy lens. Mm-hmm. He projected for Deshaun Watson 3,700 yards, 21 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. If I told you could get that from Deshaun Watson this year, 37, 21, and 11.
21 touchdowns?
Would you sign up for it, or would you roll the dice and see whatever we actually get?
21 touchdowns.
21 touchdowns.
I can't, not 30. I can't get 28 or nothing.
This is according to Mike Clay. These were his projections. You can see the interview yesterday.
I'm pretty sure everybody would be like, yeah, that's cool. That's fine.
So would you sign up for it or no? Would you roll the dice?
I would roll the dice.
I would too.
Me personally, I'm rolling the dice.
All right, I've got the report.
The Mike Hall report?
Yeah.
Save it.
It's overtime.
Save it. We just going to gather it, and we're going to talk about it in overtime. We got a guest coming up in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
Well, let's save it. I don't know if we could wait for – let's get through the guests first. Let's get through the guests first.
But let's at least get through the guests first. Yeah. We just don't have much time.
No. We got Derrik Klassen of the Athletics football show coming up. So, Earl, let's save it after. But this is breaking news. And if what I saw on Twitter mirrors that, then it is not good news for Mike Hall Jr. It is a chance to be pretty bad. Which, if you look at the tweet, that's the tweet I saw too.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Earl, let's get a read in, and then we'll wait for Derrik to join us here in a sec. For anyone who doesn't know, Derrik Klassen is a co-host of the Athletic Football Show with Robert Mays. They work at Jason's home base, The Athletic. They do a great job. Derrik has tracked quarterbacks for the last few years for Bleacher Report, the 33rd team. And a little spoiler alert, he's not super high on Deshaun, but he cannot be higher on the Browns defense entering next season. So, Earl, let's get a read, and then when we get Derrik, we'll bring Derrik in.
Yeah, while we wait on Derrik, this is a perfect time to let you know, man, to make sure you catch G. Bush on the Ultimate Brown Show twice a week, man, giving you the latest on what's going on with the Cleveland Browns. He had a fire post-game show, did about 6,000 after week 1 of the preseason, man. So subscribe to get notified. Make sure you ring the bell for my man G. Bush on the Ultimate Brown Show. You see Quincy Carrier on there. You see Tyvis Powell on there. You see me on there sometimes. And, of course, some Browns legends. Again, the Ultimate Brown Show on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube page.
Well, Earl, get in my ear and let me know when Derrik hops on. I sent him the link this morning, so we're waiting for that. But what do you want to do, actually, while we're waiting here? How do you want to play this?
Give me 1 second while I go through this.
We can talk linebackers for a sec.
Yeah, let's talk about Devin Bush
Yeah.
and the linebackers.
Just give me a minute. All right, you guys talk. I'll be right back.
All right, Jason's going to go track this down. He'll have all the information for us on the Mike Hall situation when he gets back. Earl, can I actually call a pivot? Can we do the defensive evolution while we got Tyvis? Because we need
Let's
Tyvis
do it.
for that. All right, so Tyvis,
Yeah.
I was thinking about the Browns defense last year. Number 1 in the NFL in a bunch of different categories. They did what they did better than anyone else did what they did in football, which
Okay.
was rush with your 4 down linemen,
Okay.
play tight man-to-man coverage across the board, and have 1 or 2 high safeties, depending on how they want to stack it, whether it's 1 guy in the hole or 2 guys deep, right? And for the most part, they were beyond successful and efficient at running that defense.
Okay.
They played that cover 2 shell, or the 2 high shell, man-to-man coverage. They didn't blitz. It was like 70% of the time. And that was more than anyone else played any individual defense in football.
Okay.
So I was trying to think, what's the next evolution for the Browns defense? And how can they go from being an elite defense in 2023 to being on that same tier in 2024 without changing the main principles of what they do? Because we know Jim Schwartz isn't going to play a ton of zone. We know he's not going to blitz a lot. He does what he likes to do, and they do it extremely well. So I was thinking, and I'm hoping you could give us some football expertise on this.
Yeah.
The next evolution is somehow disguising what they want to do to make quarterbacks and offensive play callers, particularly the more advanced ones, not be able to get a focus and a dial in on what specifically they're doing, play in and play out. We saw Sean Payton by the end of that game. He had a real good feel what the Browns were going to do defensively and was able to kind of pick it apart.
Yeah.
Mainly that cover 2 beater against Puka Nacua where he went right up the middle. Bobby Slovic in the playoffs, they had that defense running in circles.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think the next evolution has to be somehow disguising what the Browns do best, but not getting away from it. So how can you do that, and what can Jim Schwartz do in 2024
You have
to kind of disguise and mix it up without going away from their DNA?
Well, when you disguise, I mean, the thing is, at this point, everybody knows who you are. They know what you're doing. You can disguise it all you want, but at the end of the day, we know what you're going to do. There's so many ways to tell what you're in. You know, obviously it can come from the form of motion. It can come from, that's a lot of the times it comes from motion. You know, the Patriots used to start their running back out and then bring him in to find out if it's man or zone, and then you go from there. They will have to have an alternate call. That's just what it's going to have to be, because everybody, if they're going to run a whole bunch of man-to-man, then everybody's going to run man-to-man beaters. You're going to see a lot of stacks, a lot of bunches to get them lost in those formations so somebody gets wide open. The thing that I can tell you how to elevate is, I would tell you you would have to get more sacks and more picks. But the problem when you run man-to-man is that you don't really get, when you call man, they don't call man for you to get interceptions. They call man to keep it tight so your guys, your D-line can get there. If you want to get picks, you got to run zone, because now your DBs have eyes on the quarterback. They can see the ball out and they can go make a play. When you're in man, it's very hard to go from my eyes is on my man, I got to make sure that I'm in great position to get my head around, to then make an interception. Like, that's just not going to happen that often, because these wide receivers are really good. So Jim Schwartz has to have an alternate call. They got to come out in their regular shell, their regular thing, and instead of playing man, it's got to be some form of zone. It could be cover 2, it could be cover 3, it could be cover 4. Whatever you want to do. If you want to make it more tighter, you can run a pattern match cover 4, meaning at a certain point, this is my guy. It turns into man after a certain point of a route concept. Problem is, they struggled with that when Joe Woods was here. You think about the Carolina game where they messed it up.
I keep going back to the
that was one of the
communication stuff
things
you
that they
talked about.
messed up on. So I keep telling you, if you want this team to take the next step, it has to come with the form of communication in the DB room, in the secondary, because that secondary they can dictate a whole bunch of things. The problem why they weren't successful before is because they didn't talk. There was no hand signal. It has to be a fact that when one person see it, it has to be echoed out. Everybody has to be on the same page, and you have to be able to come with different forms. Me and G. Bush watched a clip. He sent me this clip about this guy from the post robbing an over route where the corner goes replace him. Well, guess what? That's pre-snap communication. You need to be telling them, hey, I got you on. If he runs an over route, I'm going to cut it. Make sure you replace me in the post. So that corner knows, okay, if this dude runs an over route, my thought is not to drop that and I'm going to the post. Like, those are things that you can do to make your secondary play much better, and you can still be in man-to-man in those things, but that's just an advanced step. So that's how they can get better. It comes with really the form of communication, and Jim Schwartz does have to have an alternate call from a look that he presents.
Is it doable? Like, do the Browns have the personnel to do that with in the secondary?
Yeah. All of them are capable of being great athletes. All it takes is communication, and that's the one thing that I felt that they lacked. But as far as a different coverage call, yeah, I think all of them play zone well. All of them play man well. It's just about communication at the end of the day. And until this secondary, until you able to turn that clip on and see that secondary doing hand signals or something, or saying something like telling them what's going on, that's when you know that secondary is truly taking the next step. Because I still feel like although they play really well, there still wasn't a ton of communication. And
going to year 2 with the same defensive coordinator, does that allow them to make those necessary
because you know
adjustments and disguises and all that?
Yeah, because you should know at this point you've played with the same group of guys. You know what they're good at. You should be able to see the same thing. Y'all should be watching tape together and being able to discuss what y'all see. So I need to know when you see this certain information, I need to already know what you're thinking so we could be on the same page. And I think that comes from spending time together in the offseason, which some of them have, and that comes from watching tape together, and that then talks to making a plan during the week. When we see this is what we're doing this week. And you got to be able to be versatile and switch it up every week. If you keep doing the same thing, teams are going to get aware of what you're doing, and they're going to have a counter to whatever it is that you're doing. So that's the things that I think they need to do, secondary-wise.
Do you think my hypothesis, I guess, for lack of a better word, in terms of what that next step for this defense is not plausible, but is that the next step, or do you have a different idea of what the next evolution of this Browns defense could be?
I mean, the next step is that they have the only things that they didn't do well last year is I don't think they led the league in sacks. They didn't lead the league in takeaways, and they struggled on the road. That was the three things that was like glaring, and they didn't play well against good quarterbacks, which ties into the first two things that they got to get better at anyways. If they get better at takeaways, they become number one in takeaways, and they become number one in sacks, like that right there, it changes everything, because now these quarterbacks don't have time to go through their whole progression. If they sitting there patting the ball and thinking they got time, then yeah, they're gonna pick you apart at some point. But also, it's up to Jim Schwartz to self-scout himself. If it's 17 games in the season, when you hit the halfway point, you have to be able to have self-scouted yourself to be able to say, this is what an offensive coordinator is going to do. They've seen what we've put out through these 8 weeks. We got to come up with counters to what we're doing to keep guys guessing. We're going to continue to still do some of the things that we're good at, but we have to have some type of change up of what we're doing, because offensive coordinators are going to figure it out and they're going to come up with a plan, and Houston things is going to happen.
Who is the vocal leader in the secondary? Like, who's making those calls for you?
Oh, it has to be Juan Thornhill.
Thornhill?
He's the only one that actually got some stuff to him. Everybody else is kind of a quiet guy. G. New obviously is loud, but when you think about a trash talker, a guy that's going to talk, I think Juan Thornhill be that guy. Plus, he's the post safety, so he's always the furthest back. He can see the entire picture, and he has to be able to communicate with everybody and get Del Pitt, MJ, New, and Denzel on the same page, because he can see the entire formation.
All right, Earl, you got my ear. We have Derrik. Austin, you want to do a read and we'll bring him in?
Yeah, for sure, man. This next segment, or this interview, should I say, is brought to you by the Ultimate Cavs Show. Mike and Jason did a show this morning. It is set to premiere later on today. Make sure you all check that out. Subscribe and get notified to the latest on all the Cleveland Cavaliers with my man Jason Lloyd and, of course, Mikey McNuggets.
Awesome. With that, we are thrilled to welcome in Derrik Klassen, who is one of the co-hosts of the Athletic Football Show. He's also done some work with Bleacher Report and the 33rd team in the past. Derrik, thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
I'm doing great this morning. How are you guys?
We are doing well. Some crazy Browns news we're going to get to after this interview, but thrilled to have you on to talk a little quarterbacks, offense, and defense with the Browns. And we're going to start with the number one question we have with Cleveland entering 2024, and that is, what version of Deshaun Watson are we going to get as we look to head into this upcoming season with Super Bowl aspirations? Derrik, I know you put out a quarterback rankings list earlier this summer, and you're not the highest on Deshaun Watson, but I also know you study the tape and chart throws like no one else does. So when you go back and you've watched Deshaun in his Cleveland Browns tenure, what have you seen from him that has kind of formulated this opinion that he's fallen out of the category of the good quarterbacks in the NFL?
Yeah, and I think the context of what he used to be is really important. You know, I think when Deshaun Watson was in Houston and playing at his best, he was a top 5 quarterback. You know, I think he was right up there, almost as good as, you know, Josh Allen was, that caliber of player. I think what we've seen from him in Houston lately is his accuracy has not been nearly as consistent as it was. I think especially in the short to intermediate parts of the field. He still has a couple of very good downfield throws, which has always been part of his game, but the down-to-down consistency has not really been there the way that it used to. I think he is a lot more skittish in the pocket than he used to be. You know, I think in Houston he was very willing to take hits, to move around, to do these creative things, and you see maybe 1 or 2 flashes of that a game in Cleveland, but it's just not a consistent, reliable part of his game anymore. And then to me, I think the arm strength has fallen off a little bit. It just seems like every part of his game has gotten maybe 5 to 10% worse. I also do think part of the issue is, you know, he stepped into a Kevin Stefanski world, Kevin Stefanski offense. It's very different than what he did in Houston. And they've made steps this offseason to kind of to course correct and go back to what he was doing at Houston, where it's a little bit more 3 and 4 wide sets, a little bit more gun, a little bit more empty, a little bit more RPO to kind of make him more comfortable. So we'll see how much it works this offseason. But to this point, I think they've had some struggles trying to marry what he used to be in Houston and what Stefanski has been doing in Cleveland for years now.
Derrik, when you look at the weapons that's around Deshaun, you know, they got Amari Cooper, they went and got Jerry Jeudy, they got David Njoku. Do you think that supporting cast is good enough for him to get back to being maybe a top 5 quarterback, or do you think that he will never reach that no matter who his supporting cast is?
I think this is, to me, an above-average supporting cast. Amari Cooper, to me, is a really good number 1. I think he's almost underrated because he's playing in Cleveland. I think people have almost forgotten how good he can be. I think he's truly still one of the best one-on-one separators in the NFL. So I think having a guy like him to consistently rely on is absolutely huge for Watson. David Njoku has also quietly become one of the best receiving tight ends in the NFL. I mean, he obviously does a really good job with the ball in his hands, but he's also a fantastic blocker, which kind of unlocks some other parts of this offense. So I think those 2 alone kind of puts you in a really good category. I'm probably not as high on Elijah Moore and Jerry Jeudy as some other people. I think maybe Elijah Moore could have a bounce back, but Jerry Jeudy to me has always been a very inconsistent player, which I'm not sure how well that marries with a quarterback like Watson, who himself has been inconsistent. So it seems like it's a little bit of a shaky thing there. I will say Jerry Jeudy provides this offense some speed, especially from the slot, that I don't think they had last year. So that alone could be a pretty nice thing for them. I will say I really hope we can get more from Cedric Tillman, because this is not a receiver group that has a lot of size, a lot of strength, and he could be the one guy who gives them that. But we'll see. So I would say this is not a elite, supporting cast or anything, but I think it's a good one and should be more than enough for Watson to theoretically get back to the level he used to be playing at.
Derrik, one of the things I was told on Deshaun is that his good is as good as it ever was, but his bad is oh my God, what was that? Where did that come from? Since he's been in Cleveland the last couple of years. Do you see that? Do you see the ceiling being as high as it wasn't? Like, there are moments where you look at it, you go, there it is. That's it. That's what they traded for. That's what they thought they were getting. But then the bad is off the charts bad that just didn't appear at Clemson or at Houston.
I think that's pretty spot on. I think the other thing too is Watson used to have 10 of those plays in Houston that were at the very top of like, oh my God, this is what you pay for. This is what you spend first round picks on in the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, like that super top tier quarterback. You got 10 to 12 of those plays a game. You get maybe 1 or 2 in Houston. And I think that to me is the biggest difference. And when you lose so many of those superstar plays, and then like you said, get a lot more of those, oh no, what is he doing type of plays, it's just not at all, I think, the mix that they were paying for. So I agree that his best plays still do look like a very good Pro Bowl caliber quarterback is there. It's just the consistency of it has waned in a way that is really hard to stomach, I think.
So the first few minutes, obviously, Derrik not super high on Deshaun Watson, but to prove you're not just a Cleveland hater, it is worth mentioning you had the Cleveland defense as your number one defense heading into the 2024 season. So, Derrik, they were the number one defense in 2023. We talk all the time about the variance in defenses. The top team in defensive rankings and points allowed and yards allowed, etc., is not typically the same team the following season. But in your mind, why is the Cleveland defense ready to kind of buck that trend and be the best defense in football for the second year in a row?
To me, it's just, they brought the whole crew back, right? This was the best defense last year, and really the only things that they really lost were Anthony Walker and Sione Takitaki at linebacker. And I think they've mostly replaced Takitaki with a guy like Jordan Hicks. I think he's very similar body type, very similar ability to play between the tackles and kind of bang in the run game, which is hugely important when JOK, who is a much smaller player, is your other linebacker. So they've mostly brought back all the same pieces that made them the number one defense last year, brought back their defensive coordinator, who Schwartz's scheme is a little bit, simple, and I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way. He lets his guys play fast, and he certainly has the cover corners to just go play as much man and single high as he does. And then he mixes in a couple of, cover two to kind of keep defenses on their toes. But I think this is a defense that just, if they were the number one defense last year, brought back almost all of the same pieces, and to me have the best defensive player in football in Myles Garrett. It was just really hard for me to pick another defense over them, even though I agree, the same defense that was number one last year is usually not the one going forward, but all the other defenses around them, like Baltimore, Kansas City, New England, just a few more questions that I had about them, whereas, again, Cleveland, it's the same crew as last year, so there was no reason for me not to bet on them.
Derrik, we've been waiting on somebody to be opposite of Myles since Myles has been here. He's been dominant on his side, but that other DN spot has been kind of a rotating door. They decided to run it back with Za'Darius. Do you think that was the right answer? And do you think that the guys like Alex Wright,
Ogbo.
and Ogbo also can to collectively be productive opposite of Myles?
I think they can be, and I think what I really actually like about the construction of the non-Myles guys is there's a very clear understanding of what their skill sets are supposed to be. Za'Darius Smith and Alex Wright, to me, are more of those big end, we can twist them inside and really get a lot of push on a guard, so that's going to free up a blitzer, or it's going to free up one of our more nimble three techniques to get back over and loop and go get pressure. So I think the construction of it makes sense, and then you have the complete opposite of that in a guy like Ogbo, who is much smaller, much quicker, much faster, almost in that Bryce Huff, Josh Uche type of build. So even though they don't have another true, defensive end two who is just an absolute superstar opposite of Myles Garrett, I think those three are all good enough in their own right and kind of come together collectively to not match Myles Garrett's skill set, but kind of complement it well and complement the rest of the interior. I actually think it's a well put together unit, and just having that depth alone, there's not a lot of defenses that honestly can go 4 deep with useful pass rushers, and so just having the bodies like that alone I think is nice, even if they don't have that true second guy.
Our producer Earl's got the next question.
All right, Derrik, I want to get back to the offensive side of the ball. It doesn't sound like that you're really high on the Cleveland Browns' weapons, but Amari is who Amari is. David Njoku had a Pro Bowl season last year. I think Jerome Ford had the second most receiving yards of any running back that split out wide. Jerry Jeudy is coming to Cleveland off a season where he had 758 yards. And, of course, you have the new offensive coordinator here in Ken Dorsey. In your opinion, how can Ken Dorsey unlock our playmakers and get those guys to the next level?
I think they just, I kind of mentioned it earlier, they have to just lean into, I think, what Deshaun Watson was in Houston, which, again, was a little bit more gun than I think Kevin Stefanski has been used to, a little bit more empty, which the empty they actually leaned into last year. They ran about as much as Buffalo did, which was Kind of shocking for, again, what Kevin Stefanski has been previously. But I think they're going to have to lean into a little bit more RPO. And I think even just beyond some of those levers like that, this is going to be structurally a more wide open offense in terms of the alignment than I think that we've seen from Stefanski maybe 2-3 years ago, where he was a little bit more under center, 12 personnel, tighter formations, really trying to run the ball. That's just not the construction of this receiving core of this team. So I think they're going to have to lean into just getting more space by alignment, and kind of letting Watson see the entire field from gun and just operate that way, and almost leaning into some of the creative playmaking that he can do outside the pocket and not being so rigid in some of the play action and drop back stuff that he wanted to do. So I think that's the best way to lean into it. They almost have to lean into the fact that Watson at this point is a little bit volatile, and just pray that he can be a little bit more, find some of those high-end plays that we were talking about earlier.
Derrik, you and Robert on the Athletic Football Show did a podcast, I think it was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, about the DNA changers in free agency and in the NFL, guys who came to a new team that can kind of change what that team is truly trying to do. I know you guys didn't include coaches in that discussion, but do you think Mike Vrabel could be a little bit of a DNA changer for the Browns this season?
Yeah, I actually love Mike Vrabel. I was stunned that he got fired. I know that Titans team had kind of the roster really deteriorated, but I don't necessarily know that was his fault. I've always thought that Vrabel is a good coach, and I think he's a good guy to have next to Jim Schwartz. I think both Schwartz and Vrabel are both guys that do a very, very good job of getting their guys to play hard, and just understand their technique and play in a very simple way, which, again, I don't mean simple bad. They're not, taking these random chances on shooting gaps and all this other nonsense. I think they just understand where they're supposed to be. I think Vrabel absolutely brings that. And so to bring him into a defense that's still, obviously they're a very good defense, but they're not always the toughest guys. Like I said, JOK is a small linebacker. Their interior is certainly better than it was 2-3 years ago when they were the worst in the league, but it's still not the beefiest group out there. So I think bringing in a guy like Vrabel who can bring a little bit of that attitude, a little bit of that technique understanding is actually a very good thing for them.
Derrik, I'm going to set the line at 1.5. How many games does Jameis Winston start for the Cleveland Browns this season? Over under?
I'll go over.
Really?
I'll go over. Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily because Watson will get benched. It's just he's had struggles staying healthy, really, since he's been in Cleveland. And so, truthfully, I would guess at least half of the quarterbacks in the NFL are going to miss a couple of games this season, because that just seems the way that it goes now. But especially with Watson's injury history over the past 2 years or so, I would guess we get Winston out there. I'm very interested to see it, because typically the offense that Winston likes is almost the polar opposite of what Watson likes. Winston, I think, is a little bit more comfortable in the old Stefanski world. So if that becomes the case where Winston does have to play games, I'm very curious to see how that ends up unfolding.
I wonder what the Browns' record would be if Jameis was the starting quarterback this year. Like in a world where Deshaun just didn't exist. Is that a playoff team? Derrik, is Jameis leading this Browns team, the rest of the roster unchanged? Is that a playoff team in the AFC?
3 years ago, I might have been high enough on Jameis where I would say that. But I think I'm probably not there anymore. I think he's probably gives you maybe a few more big plays than Watson, but also might somehow throw even more interceptions, even though Watson kind of struggles there as well. So I think, I don't know. I would probably lean there about within one game of where they would be with Watson, so not a huge difference.
When you look at the addition of Ken Dorsey to this offensive staff, he's now collabing with Kevin Stefanski on building an offensive game plan week in and week out. How do you see that marriage going, Derrik, when you look at what Stefanski likes to do and kind of his core principles offensively compared to what Ken Dorsey has shown as an offensive coordinator in Carolina and Buffalo and his core principles as an offensive play caller?
It's two different worlds, right? Stefanski was very under center. We want to run the ball. We want to do play action, 5 and 7 step drop. You look at what Dorsey was doing with Buffalo, and a lot of it was, okay, we're going to be in gun. We're going to be in spread formations. Our run game is going to be a lot more, they were doing a lot more being in gun and pulling guys, which Stefanski has opened up himself to be more of a pulling run game, especially when you have guys like Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller. You probably should. So that part I think they'll be fine with. But I mentioned earlier, Dorsey was a lot more RPOs, and I think he was a lot more quick game than Stefanski has been used to. So I think they're they're really trying to bridge two almost polar opposite worlds here. And I do wonder if there's going to be too much of a clash of ideas where I actually think these are two very good offensive coaches, but when you're marrying two such different worlds, I think it could be very, very hard. So I'm really curious to see what it looks like, because it's almost hard to picture because the offenses were so different.
Derrik, right now, what concerns you more about the Cleveland Browns season? The left tackle situation or Deshaun Watson?
I would say Deshaun Watson because of the left tackle situation. Because to me, one of Watson's biggest issues, especially now, but even dating back to Houston, was he will hold the ball for a very long time, and he will make some reckless decisions a little bit late in the down. And I think if the left tackle situation is going to be as unresolved as it is, that could be a huge problem for him. The interior being as good as it is kind of helps that, and I think that will be nice for giving him space. But if the left tackle spot is going to be kind of unresolved the way that it is, I think Deshaun Watson could have even more issues in the pocket than we've seen lately. So that would probably be my biggest concern. That's a little bit of a, splitting the difference on the answer, but.
Derrik, last question is going to come from our producer, Earl.
Oh, no, I didn't have one. I was thinking you could.
Oh, well, then I got one last one here, Derrik, and then we'll let you go. When you look at the AFC North, 4 teams that we have said on this show multiple times, we could see this division finishing in any order. Browns can finish first or fourth, same with Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cincinnati. How do you see this AFC North playing out in 2024?
I would still give it to Baltimore, even though they have probably a few more questions than last year. I still think that this is probably the best team. I think they have the most blue chip, just absolute superstar level players, and they have, to me, the best quarterback, so I would put them. I think the next part is where it gets really tricky, because I think, the Bengals, you look at Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, but I think they have a million holes in the rest of the roster. So, and then you look at the Steelers, I think you can always trust them to win at least 8 and 9 games. I think Cleveland will probably win 8 or 9 games again. So this is a cop-out answer, but I really think the last 2 through 4 is a complete jumble. I trust that Baltimore will win the division. I think the rest could go just about any direction.
Awesome. That is Derrik Klassen. Make sure you check him out on the Athletic Football Show with Robert Mays, who's coming up with us next week. Derrik, thank you so much for the time today. We'll be listening, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. You guys have a good one.
Awesome. That was Derrik Klassen. We're going to get into some of the Mike Hall allegations and stuff after a quick word from Earl, because Jason has the full police report for us now.
Yeah, before we get into more about Mike Hall, I just want to tell everybody, man, to like, subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Make sure you ring that bell. Listen, man, we got the best online chat in the world, man. Our fans show up every day to support us. So, again, subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Like, ring that bell to stay in the know with all the latest.
Derrik is so funny.
Yeah, what's so funny?
The chat got me rolling, that's all. That's all.
What they saying? Is it about me? Because I'm here for it. I'm here for
I had
it all.
it back. I had the chat back. You know what I'm saying? That's it. We're going to move on.
All right, well, on a much more serious note. Hold on. We got to start this clip on a serious note, because I don't think I know now we've seen the allegations. These are quite serious. So Jason Lloyd has acquired the full police report from Avon in relation to the Mike Hall situation we referenced earlier. It was a domestic dispute. Jason, you've now read the police report. What new information can you share with us that we did not have at the beginning of the show?
I'll read directly from it for parts of it, but it started, according to the report, it started over Michael's fiance saying that her daughter from another man needed dental work done and needed money for it. Michael told her to contact the biological father. She did that, and the situation. So that's what started it, and it escalated from there into a phone, going through phones, and then Michael began going back and forth between the kitchen and the bedroom on the second floor, gathering belongings and throwing them outside, continuing to demand that the fiancée leave. When she refused to leave the house, Michael attempted to physically force her out by pushing her from behind toward the door. Once reached the door, the fiancée sat down, bracing herself against it in an effort to prevent Michael from pushing her outside. Michael grabbed her by the feet and dragged her on her back across the porch and down to the end of the driveway. There was a report that her arms, according to the police report, her arms were scraped against the concrete During that, he took a gun and pointed it against her temple and said, "He will end this now." He, at one point, raised his fist as if to hit her, but she stopped him and pleaded, the kids. And the fiance's mother was present for all of this as well. And at that point, she began yelling to Michael to stop, so he left the room. He punched a hole in the door at one point. And so the police obtained a written statement from the fiance's mother, who her statement was brief, but it corroborated several of the key details of the account. The mother stated, again, the mother of the fiance stated that she witnessed Michael strike the woman's daughter on the head with a baby bottle, drag her outside by her arms, choke her by the neck, pushed her head through a wall, and broke open the bedroom door to drag her out. During the walk through the residence, police observed several indicators of a physical altercation. The door frame to the mother's bedroom was damaged, consistent with the description of the door being pushed open. Police found 2 handguns at the scene, lying on the mattress. There was a hole in the bedroom door to the main bedroom of Michael and his fiance, which matched the account of him punching it in anger. There are photographs of the damage, and Michael left and went to a hotel. Michael, apparently, according to the report, lives with this woman, with the fiance. He left before police arrived and went to a hotel in the area before they got there. So that's what we know. Obviously, some pretty disturbing details in that account.
Did you say he hit with the bottle? He hit the kid or
The
he hit the fiance?
fiance.
Okay.
I was a little bit confused. I want to make sure. He hit the fiance with
Okay.
the baby. So there are 2 children involved. There's one from a previous relationship, and then there's one that the couple shared together.
Okay.
So the dispute that started it had to do over a dental procedure needed for the child that is not Michael's child. It is a child from a previous relationship, still a child, a couple years older than I think the child that they share is less than a year old. According to the report, they live together in Avon. They are engaged. The woman told, that's according to the woman told police that they are engaged. And that's what we know. Very detailed incident report. You don't always get this many details in a report. I was actually texting with another officer from another local neighboring city who was surprised at the detail in that report that was all released. But
And just to make sure I heard that right, will you read the part about the gun again?
yeah, can I find it? Give me 1 second
Yeah.
to find it.
I'm trying to process this all in live time. I want to make sure I heard everything properly before
I want to read that part verbatim from the report. I just need a minute to find it. Michael followed her, retrieved one of his 2 handguns, either a .40 caliber Glock 23 or a 9mm Smith & Wesson. They weren't clear on which gun it was. Pressed the firearm against her temple and threatened, "I will effing end it all. I don't care." The fiancé could not identify which handgun Michael used, but was certain of the threat. Michael returned after that to throw in belongings outside. Went outside. The fiancé went outside and stood with her mother, who advised her to call the police. After contacting law enforcement, Michael locked the women out of the residence and fled the scene in his vehicle. And the woman crawled back in through her mother's window. Is how she got back in the house. So, on the scale of not that big of a deal to pretty bad, this sounds pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, we said earlier in the show we didn't want to comment till we had some more details. Obviously, we have new details now, Tyvis. What do you make of the whole situation?
It sounds like somebody that just took one incident and completely forgot about all the progress that he made in life and decided to just throw it all in the air. That's what that situation looks like to me. I don't know how he bounced back from this with the Browns at the moment. He definitely need to seek some help for sure. But yeah, I think he might have played the one game with the Cleveland Browns and he might be done.
$1,500 is basically what this came down to. It was over $1,500. I'm going back and read it now. Altercation began earlier in the day. The fiancé and Michael were discussing the financial needs for the daughter, again, the one that is not his. The daughter required a dental procedure to extract a tooth, which was estimated to cost $1,500. Fiance asked Michael for the money, to which he responded that she should request it from the biological father. The fiance informed Michael that she had already asked the father, but he was unable to provide the funds. Michael, appearing skeptical, demanded to see the phone to verify her claim. Fiance, accompanied by her mother, allowed Michael to review the messages on her phone. Michael saw that the fiance had indeed asked the father for the money, but he became increasingly agitated and questioned why she continued to ask him when Zaya's father, when the child's father kept refusing. As Michael continued to scroll through her phone, the fiance decided to lock it, suspecting that he was attempting to find something to argue about. She also noted that Michael never permitted her to go through his phone, which contributed to her refusal to unlock hers. Michael's anger escalated and he began yelling, shouting profanities such as "Get the F out, get the F out." His behavior was described by the fiance as, quote, insane, end quote, which she found particularly embarrassing in front of her mother. So that's what started it, according to police.
Yeah, we've seen throughout the course of the last decade and a half, like domestic violence incidents happen in football, or off the field, but to football players. You think of the Ray Rice situation, the Kareem Hunt are the first two that kind of come to mind. There are a lot more that have happened that it just ends a player's career right there. They don't get a second chance. Ray Rice never played again, did he?
No.
Kareem Hunt got a second opportunity with the Browns and had a chance to recommend himself. What's being described in that police report is unacceptable behavior. Like, to hit a woman is, I don't care what the situation is, that's never an appropriate thing to do. There's never a right reason. There's never a justifiable reason. And I'm not sure how you bounce back from putting a gun to someone's temple and threatening to kill him.
Yeah,
I honestly, and I'm obviously not making a joke here. I don't know, in the realm of the NFL space in a locker room, like, how you bounce back from that. I really don't. Davis, like, you've been in there. If that happened to one of your teammates and he had to come in and you had to look him in the eye, I don't know how you would handle that situation, and it's a shame, really.
Yeah, it's that the whole situation to me, and I don't like really speaking on other people's stuff, but to me, I think Mike personally had to be more grown up in this situation, more mature about the situation. I mean, when you think about that, and like I said, I apologize if I'm speaking out of character. I know this is something that I shouldn't even be speaking on, but I feel like I need to say something about it. I feel like in that relationship that this is your fiance, this is the woman that you're going to marry, you understand the situation that she has another kid with another from a prior relationship, but and he's right, that the biological father should be the one providing for it, and I 100% agree with him on that. But if you're put in a situation to where when you're marrying this person, ultimately that partially becomes your responsibility as well, whether it's your kid or not, you still want to provide for them, and make sure that life is good for them. So I felt like for $1,500, yeah, he could have dished that out easily. It was something that escalated. The part that gets me is it seemed like it might have been like a trust issue thing, because when you got to go through somebody's phone, like, it's like you don't trust the information that they're already saying. And that part to me is scary. And I just think he just completely snapped, because when somebody snatches their phone back and lock it, it's like, what are you hiding? Yeah, what are you hiding? And he just kind of lost his mind over this whole thing, because to him, that's the person that he loves, the person that he's about to marry, and it seemed like she's being dishonest with him. So I think in that moment, he just snapped, and he never recovered from it. He definitely went a little too far. That could have been one of those situations where you just need to remove yourself from that situation for maybe a little bit.
Don't let one bad thing turn into multiple
you let
things,
that one thing just complete a domino effect that essentially could have ended your career with that. So I think that point, it's going to be something that he's going to regret for the rest of his life, especially after just playing in the game. And like I said, he definitely got to get some help for sure for this, because that the whole thing is just terrible. Like don't you shouldn't even. And then to do that in front of kids and do that in front of your future mother-in-law, that's crazy behavior right there. So
just that there's no coming back from that. Like
in
the relationship. I don't know how. I mean,
love love conquers all. So I'm not gonna say the relationship is done, but it's scarred. It's definitely scarred.
What do you
First
say?
off, bro, I think you did an amazing job of laying out your feelings, and I can tell this is uncomfortable because you're not used to being in the space where you're speaking on fellow athletes. But this is an example of you a man first, you're a father, you a husband. You know, I have kids, and I've dated women that has kids, and when you decide to enter a relationship with somebody that has a child, you're not just dating that woman. You know, those kids become part of your responsibility. And if you can't put forth the same type of energy, love, time, and effort towards those kids as you would your own, then you probably shouldn't be with that woman. It takes a village to raise a child. So and that report is true, I don't think she was out of line asking you to help with her child, because that child is now a part of your family and a part of your union. He's 21 years old, and Tyvis alluded to the fact that, you know, you need to go get some help. You know, this is deeper than just football, and this can be the start of a pattern of behavior that can lead to him being in prison or ultimately losing his life. Like, this is Cleveland. You got to know what type of time it is. You got to check the temperature in the room, and you got to move accordingly. You know, I don't really feel comfortable speaking on this myself, but if everything that Jason just laid out is 100% factually true, then he needs to be cut from the Cleveland Browns, because you can't get just a slap on the wrist with this, right? Like, this is very serious. This is very, very dangerous, and this can be traumatizing for those children going forward. This can impact them and how they approach relationships when they get older. Like, when you grow up and you see domestic violence and the verbal abuse, the physical abuse, the emotional abuse, that has an impact on us. And if we don't get the help necessary, we carry that shit until our adult lives, and then it bleeds over into the people that we're attempting to love. So, you know, prayers to everybody involved, and I really hope this dude takes a step back and really just work on him.
Yeah, I don't know what action the Browns will take next. I don't know what action, if the NFL will get involved. I do know, regardless of what's happening on the field, fixing his mentals and getting his mentals in a better state off the field is the top priority for Michael Hall in the immediate future, because, to Tyvis's point earlier, whatever started the escalation did not have to get to the level it got to. Nothing in there about a $1,500 dental procedure, whatever it is, equates or justifies the outcome of what, if this police report is 100% factual, what we got. Domestic violence and threats to kill with a gun. Like, that just escalates to a level beyond where anything that you described in the lead-up, Jason, should have gotten to. And I like I said earlier, I don't know where the Browns proceed from here. I don't know what the legal procedure necessarily is. I don't think we've heard any of the actual charges yet, Jason, in terms of what he's been booked with or whatnot. But it's a sad situation today for the Browns and everyone involved.
Had he been a 6th round, 7th round pick, undrafted, he'd probably already been released.
Yeah.
The fact he's a 2nd round pick, we'll see what happens. But certainly I think anything's on the table at this point. And again, they've gone down this road before. They've tried with guys with sketchy character, and it's come back to haunt them a couple of times with Perrion Winfrey,
Malik
McDowell, and now obviously with Michael Hall. We'll let the court system play out, but obviously when it shows up in a police report like this, it's not good. So I hope Michael gets the help he needs. I hope the children are okay. I hope the fiance is okay. Yep. The mother's okay. Tyvis, you're right. It's traumatizing for everybody. It's traumatizing for obviously the mother of the child, the mother of the fiance, the children involved. I think about the children involved. It's a tough situation. So
we'll continue to update you guys as we get more information. the Browns are off today, right? They won't.
Yeah.
They won't put out any other statements on this today, right?
No, I doubt it unless they were to release them, and I don't think that would happen today. They're going to let this thing play out a little bit. Kevin will address it tomorrow. He won't say much, and they'll let this play out. He will be arraigned in court. I haven't seen when that'll happen yet. I don't know. I might be out there, but I haven't seen it, and we'll see how this plays out.
I got a question for Tyvus.
Shoot.
Because you are a young man who worked your ass off to make it to the NFL, and things probably didn't turn out the way that you wanted them to, but I know you, and I know you wouldn't put yourself in any situation to kind of have all your hard work washed away. Tyvus, year in and year out, incoming rookie drafted players see examples of what not to do, and you would think that when they get to that point themselves, they'd be like, okay, I done seen numerous examples of I shouldn't go down this path. As a former player, if the Cleveland Browns said, hey, Tyvus, I need you to come in and start hollering at our rookies before we even get started, what would you say to these guys just entering the NFL?
I would tell them, you worked your butt off to get here. You know, you really sacrificed a lot of your time and effort to get here. And it's going to be a lot of things that you're going to see. It's going to be a lot of opportunities that happen. It's going to be stuff that you never even thought could possibly happen. It's going to present itself to you. Try to remember in that moment, because all it takes is one moment. One moment, your whole life can be done in one moment. And you can give them numerous examples, whether that's you did something bad, it could even be death. We seen guys that's been dying. The one guy from Minnesota died, and like So you got to be mindful of how you want to live your life, you know, and it's not worth it. You got to sit back sometimes and realize that it's really small in the grand scheme of things, and it's hard to do when you're 21, 22 years old. And emotions get involved, and you just start acting out of emotion and stuff like that, and you don't realize that your whole life can be gone. So I think for me, how I was able to handle certain things is that I never let something else dictate me ending it all with my career. If I was going to mess it up, it was going to be something that I did on the field. I wanted to keep everything on the field. And as far as the relationship goes, as far as the fun goes, it'll still be there when you're done playing. It's not going anywhere. It can all wait until after you're done, but you got to keep the main thing. And that should be focusing on how I can be better at this game that I love and how I can put myself in the best position to succeed in this league, because we only got a shelf life. We only got, at best, we got about 6-7 years of good football. And you got to maximize those moments, because once those 6-7 years is over, it's done. Now you can go back and to be the regular civilian that you want to be. But don't let nothing stand in your way of stopping you from being the best to ever play this game. And that's kind of what I would tell them, you know. And you can't be influenced by other things. What works for somebody else might not work for you. Be your own person. And if you ever get in a situation, just stop and think, is it worth it? Is it worth me losing everything that I worked for in this split moment? And if the answer is no, you need to get in your car or walk away as fast as you can before you make that decision. That's what I tell them.
Earl, you want to get some super chats in here? I think we need some sort of divider before we wrap up the show. I don't know how
we'll talk about the
other stuff.
We'll talk about the proposed trade package that the Browns was going to send to the 49ers for Brandon Ayuk.
I just got during Hall's arraignment hearing, he pleaded not guilty. A personal bond of $10,000 was set, and he will appear in Avon Lake Municipal Court on September 10th, which is the Monday after their first game, correct? The 8th is the first game?
September 8th is the first game.
So the Monday after their first game is his...
Tuesday. Tuesday's the 10th.
Tuesday. September 10th will be his arraignment date in Avon Lake Municipal Court. But he pleaded not guilty, personal bond set at $10,000, and he will appear in the Avon Lake Municipal Court on Tuesday, September 10th. And that's the latest update and the last update on Mike Hall till we get more information. So, Earl, let's get some super chats, and then we'll figure out how to end this show.
Yeah, man, and shout out to everybody who sent in super chats, man. The chat was on fire today. Vernell started off the super chats today with a little song from my man Tyvis, You'll Never Find. Blum, 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 blum. A hairline like mine.
First of all, I need to get this on record. I've said this before, so I want to get this on record again. My hairline has been in the exact same spot since I was a kid. I was born with this hairline. Everybody in my family just have big foreheads. So that's just what it is. And it's sad because not my oldest, my youngest daughter.
That's Steve. Get off, Steve. It's been a tough day. Get that off. I'm gonna stick up for Tyvis here. That was mean.
Steve's an assassin.
That was mean.
But everybody in my family has big forehead, so it's just what it is. Like it's not my hairline is terrible. That's just what it's been my entire life. I never had one. You can't miss something that you never had. So that's a good one.
You're great at every sport. There's nothing you can't do. God had to take something from you, so he took your hair.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine because I'm gonna go bald and I won't even have a hairline to talk about anymore. So there you go.
How close are you from just saying the hell with the hair?
Peel it off.
The Jordan.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, I wear a hat so much that it really don't matter if I do or don't. The reason that I'm doing this, just trying this right now, is because I want to get people used to my hair being low. So when I peel it off, it's like
just nothing.
Yeah, it's like
It's a transition.
And the thing about it is, it's not necessarily everybody else. It's myself. I got to get used to myself, not seeing a bunch of hair up there. So that's why I'm doing this right now, to get myself, because I'm already transitioning into that phase to where I'm just gonna just say, to heck with it, and just peel the whole thing off.
All right, man. Dontavius Winston says, why did Tyvis say David Ortiz so confidently? I guess when you was comparing Big Christmas out there.
What? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
One used steroids, one
Ortiz
doesn't
in the
have
Hall
to
of
be
Fame?
that strong. Jayhawk don't need steroids.
Ortiz wasn't
Wasn't no steroids, was he?
Let's call a spade a spade.
Well, you can't just throw that out
Mike.
there.
Reckless speculation.
David Ortiz, didn't he have steroids?
I don't think so.
I think y'all are crazy.
He was not at the hearings, the congressional.
I'm saying, what, John?
I'm looking this up.
Big Christmas don't remind you of Big Poppy?
What David do to you, Mike?
Yeah, what's wrong
David
with you?
Ortiz was the guy I was most scared of in my entire life. When he was at the plate in the 9th inning, didn't matter who was pitching.
You don't get
Could have been Klasse or Mariano.
You don't get them same feelings with Big Christmas up there? I do.
Settle down. Settle down.
He wasn't feeling that one. he had this in the super chat to that one. He liked that one. That's a good comparison.
Okay, hold on. He did test positive. Okay, before the MLB instituted PED testing, they basically did a sample survey of some players, and Ortiz did test as positive. However, the testing ended up having some legitimacy concerns with the testing lab, and some perfectly legal supplements would have returned a positive test as well. So he did have a positive test, but it's unknown if it was actually PEDs. So you're right. Okay, so maybe he didn't do steroids. But I knew I had read that somewhere. I knew that he had a positive test in some regard. All right, so next super chat, Earl.
All right, this one is not a super chat, but this is from a loyal member. It says, where's the Deshaun Watson injury prone coming from? I think he's trying to say like it was one season and one injury, but Joe Burrow is not injury prone. Can someone explain?
Oh, Joe Burrow's definitely.
My apologies.
Joe Burrow's
I tried to
definitely
word that
injury-prone.
as good as
No,
I can.
we get what he's saying. He's saying, how is Deshaun injury prone after 1 year being hurt and nobody says nothing about Joe Burrow? Everybody says everything about Joe Burrow. He is injury prone.
Yeah, I think people talk about Joe Burrow being injury prone. Justin Herbert's injury prone too. Who's going through the?
Has Deshaun only had one injury in his career?
Tore his ACL at Clemson.
Tore his ACL his rookie year.
Yeah,
I thought
rookie
it was
year
in Clemson.
No, Houston.
Houston rookie year.
Because the Browns had that pick.
Okay, so torn ACL. He had the shoulder surgery.
So he missed 2 seasons
Two
due
pretty
to
serious.
injury.
He's also alluded to that he's played throughout his NFL career with multiple injuries. I mean,
He's tough as a rock.
it's
He had
the
the broken
NFL.
ribs.
Like,
Yeah.
people get hurt.
I never said he was injury prone. I said that I'm worried about his left tackle. That could cause him to get hurt.
I think Derek said he missed 2 seasons with injury. I think he just misspoke, meaning he missed the 1 season or missed 11 games because of the suspension, then the injury. I think that's what he was. Actually, I know that's what he was trying to refer to. He was saying just the inconsistency in his play. In terms of being on the field, he said injuries, but it was the suspension injury. So
Our
I'd
next
look
super
butchered
chat comes from somebody that's actually a defense attorney. Ahmad or Ahmed says, as a criminal defense attorney, I think it's important to not talk about the police report like they aren't hearsay. Let's just let it play out.
Okay, well, true, and we've said that, but we also, like, the police observed the damage to the house and the scrapes on her arm. So, I mean, that part, and there were guns on the bed, or guns in the house, I should say, on the bed. There were guns in the house that were found. So some of it looks pretty evident. But let it play out
fair.
in court.
Yeah. We'll find out September 10th. Or we'll at least begin the process
They'll
of
begin
finding
the
out
process.
September 10th. And last one, Earl.
Two more.
Two more.
Eddie says Tyvis hairline is playing the Greg Williams defense.
That's funny.
Zero blitz.
No, he played his safeties 30 yards back,
Yeah.
so he said
It's
my
like a
hairline is
prevent
playing
defense,
way
something like
back.
that.
Yeah.
That's actually a good
That's
one.
good, Eddie.
That's a good one. I like that one.
That's good, Eddie.
And I mean, he paid for it, so I'll read it. But Brody's bottom line says he don't believe the police report at all. So
To each their own.
I guess
I
we'll,
mean-
we'll see. That's all I can say. We'll see.
Yeah,
I tell you what, I'll be the first to. I pray that it's not true. To see a Buckeye brother like that, I don't even want to crucify him because I don't want to say that or nothing negative about a guy that went to my school, a guy that I was happy that they drafted for. So I'll be the first to tell you, I pray that none of it's true. But if it is,
It's tough
I
look.
mean, I can give y'all some free game. Y'all know by now, I've spent the majority of my adult life working for either Cleveland Municipal Court or Euclid Municipal Court as a civil and criminal clerk. And, you know, you see things like domestic violence charges, you know, come through the clerk's office way too much. You know, and sometimes these domestic situations, they ugly. And the details that's inside of some of these reports aren't pretty. And no, you can't, you know, just go off the police report in itself. But that's why you have investigators and people to go out to, you know, observe what's going on and write these reports. But I'll just give you all some free game. There's something out there called a menacing charge. And people don't even realize you can catch that at a drop of a dime. The moment that you feel like you want to raise your voice at somebody, you know, curse somebody out, make a threat via over the phone or via text or anything like that, just understand, man, if that person really wanted to, they can go to any local court and file a charge on you. So before you throw away your own life, your own future, and your own career as just everyday people that's out here busting your ass and making a living, just because somebody pissed you off to that level, man, it's other ways to go about it. Like, take a step back and breathe before you find yourself in deeper trouble than what you already are in.
Well said. Well said. And like I said, we'll get more finite information in the coming weeks as this situation unfolds, but it's something we're going to have to monitor as the Browns get ready to start the 2024 season. He was their top pick this year. They had high expectations and hopes for Mike Hall Jr., and obviously not off to the greatest start. Whether it's partially true, fully true, not true at all, it puts him in a bad light to start off his NFL career.
I mean, guys, they didn't make up the police report. They didn't make it up, okay? Like, have some semblance of reality, Browns fans. Like, this is not just – there are physical evidence marks. There's damage to the house. Like, if it was a Steelers defensive tackle, would you believe it? I mean, come on.
People didn't believe the Perry Winfrey stuff when
Come
it
on.
first came out last year, and that turned out to be spot
Whatever.
on. So
I'm glad it's 12:57 before I get myself in trouble.
we'll see.
A
Earl,
couple minutes, got some breaking news in the NFL.
JJ McCarthy stuff?
Yeah. Vikings rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy expected to undergo surgery to repair a torn meniscus in his right knee.
Right before joint practices.
I
which
wonder-
means Sam Darnold's going to start.
that don't keep you out for a full year, though.
No.
No, he said he might be back week 1.
Okay.
That would be a little
Because
surprising.
I thought he played really well in his first
I
preseason
did too.
game, and I just think that Kevin O'Connell offense fits what he is
To
as
a
a quarter.
T.
Yeah,
To a T.
and it looked good on game day. Even though I know they probably keeping everything vanilla, but he definitely he wasn't gonna get tackled in practice anyways. But that pass rush would have did him some good to see what Miles looked like, to see how it speeds your clock up and what you got to do, how you got to process stuff faster. He is gonna miss out on some good practice work.
Let me ask you a question about joint practices. We have a minute, so this will be quick. If you touch the quarterback, is that just full-on brawl?
Yes.
Like, not like
What do you
lay
mean?
him
What
out.
do you mean touchy? What do you mean?
Just,
If you run into him,
yeah, not him. Just run into
It's not
him.
a full out brawl. No.
What's the
You hit him,
Well, you hit
or
him,
he
it's a
get
brawl.
hurt. It's a problem.
What does start the brawls in joint practices? Just talking?
No, it's usually
It's usually a wide
I'd
receiver
say
fatigue.
80% of the time it has to do with somebody holding somebody.
Really?
And you get frustrated. It's camp. You tired of that.
Yeah.
And
And
people,
you
you trying to make a play and the dude keep grabbing you.
then you pop him and he
it's-
comes back and now it's on.
It's usually 80% of somebody did a holding. Guaranteed. Look it up.
Were you a camp fighter?
No. I did have one moment where I was about to snap though, but that was Ohio State days.
And he's going to tell us about it in overtime. Coming up here in about 10 seconds. Peace.